Masters of Ceremony. This Warbond has some of the best style in the game. Sure, there are a few good items, but if you're buying this Warbond, you're probably buying it because you love the look of the items. Masters of Ceremony is another mixed bag in my opinion, kind of like Urban Legends. But it's still a decent Warbond, and I like it well enough. We are gonna get started on page 1, and on page 1 we have the R2 Amendment. This is a really fun weapon, and it fits really well with this Warbond in particular. The Amendment is inspired by a few different weapons from real-world history, notably the M14 and the FG42. And this makes sense because it is considered a ceremonial weapon, much like the Constitution is. But in practice, the Amendment and the Constitution are quite different. The only thing they truly share in common is the bayonet. The Amendment has a magazine capacity of 20 rounds, and each round deals 200 damage with light armor penetration. That's nothing special for a marksman rifle. However, the Amendment also comes with the ability to select burst fire, allowing you to pump out damage at closer ranges, almost like an assault rifle. This makes it great against unarmored enemies like flesh mobs or hordes of voteless, and pretty good against lightly armored enemies like overseers. This weapon and the Adjudicator fill a similar role. They are both medium-range weapons that blur the line between marksman rifles and assault rifles. However, this one just happens to be light pen with higher damage. And don't forget about the bayonet, because the bayonet actually does penetrate medium armor, making it an interesting addition to a weapon that can only penetrate light armor. You can trade safety for penetration if you insist on stabbing somebody with this weapon. Overall, the Amendment is a pretty solid rifle. It's fun to use and it has its own niche. Plus, it fits really well with our next item, which is the RE 2310 Honorary Guard armor set. This armor set is really good looking. It still has some classic chest armor, but the rest of it is very fancy and very gilded is the word I would use. You could pick apart all the different details on this armor set for minutes at a time. The helmet is very cool too. It very much fits with the theme, and I love the face. It looks like a mask that Sub-Zero or Scorpion would wear. This is a medium armor set with 100 armor rating, and the passive for this Warbond is Reinforced Epaulettes, which comes with 3 different perks. The first perk increases the reload speed of primary weapons by 30%, which is great. This is one of the reasons that people love to use Siege Ready, and just having this perk already makes it into a pretty solid passive. The second perk gives you a 50% chance to avoid limb injuries. Not a bad perk, this could definitely help you out in a variety of different situations. And the final perk increases your melee damage by 50%. Another nice touch that can come in handy if you're using a melee weapon, or something like the Amendment. Giving some extra damage to the bayonet is a pretty good idea. In fact, this whole passive feels like it was tailor-made to be used with the Amendment and the Constitution. The Amendment burns ammo really fast if you're using it on burst fire, and the Constitution takes way too long to reload 5 measly rounds. So the reload speed really does come in handy, especially with ceremonial weapons. And the melee damage fits really well with the bayonets. So they did a pretty good job at designing this passive around the ceremonial weapons. Next up, we have the Federation's Embrace Cape. There's really nothing else to talk about on page 1, so I guess I'll show off this cape. It is a pretty important one after all. It's a classic design. It's the flag of Super Earth, reformatted to be worn by a bunch of bright-eyed teenagers that will soon be massacred. It's a very nice cape, but I'm not gonna fly these colors right now. Now we're moving on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the CQC-2 Saber. Unfortunately, the Saber is nothing special. It is extremely similar to the Combat Hatchet, which was already out when this Warbond was released, with the only real difference between these two weapons being the moveset. And it's not a very substantial change. It's not like you get some kind of Elden Ring weapon art with this thing, it's just different swings. Both of these weapons have the exact same damage per second, with the same stamina costs, and pretty much the exact same range. But if you don't want to buy the Combat Hatchet from the Superstore, then you'll get the saber as an alternative when you buy this Warbond. I personally already owned the combat hatchet when this Warbond released, so the saber was just like a small bonus to me. It was more of like having a collectible than anything else. The saber and the combat hatchet are both tied for the best damage per second out of any melee weapon. The saber is worth using if you enjoy how it looks and you enjoy the little fancy moveset it has. I just personally don't like melee, so this is not a big deal to me. I don't like this weapon very much. Next up, we have the RE 1861 Parade Commander armor set. This has to be the single fanciest armor set in the entire game. It just looks so nice. The colors, the patterns, the gloves, it's all great. And the helmet has to be one of the most iconic helmets in the game. Not only does it look great, but it actually gives you a reason to use the tip hat emote that was shown in last week's Warbond review. Plus, it can fit with a variety of different armors, because it mostly uses basic colors like black, gray, and gold. And you can probably tell by looking at it, but this is a light armor set, 50 armor rating. And of course it shares a passive with the previous armor set. As much as I love this armor set and the way it looks, I'm just not a big fan of light armor in general. But it definitely makes sense to be light armor. There's pretty much no armor on it at all. You're just a soldier that was supposed to be doing a ceremony or a parade, and you've gotten thrust into combat. This is a bit off topic, but I love how they started escalating the themes of the Warbonds over time. Last year, we began deploying truth enforcers to the front lines, pretty much sending the Gestapo to fight wars. Then we got urban legends, when we started sending riot control forces to fight against an ancient alien threat. Then we started sending radicalized suicide bombers in Servants of Freedom, recruiting cowboys with borderline justice, and now we're using gear that was meant for ceremonies with this Warbond. I think it's just a really neat way to show that Super Earth is pretty much throwing everything they have at this war, and it's only getting worse. Next up, we have the Humble Regalia Cape. Once again, there's not much else on this page, so I'll just show the cape. It's pretty great. It's just a nice, sleek design that fits well with the Parade Commander set. And it could fit well with anything else that's red and black. Time for page 3. And on page 3 we have the Decorated Hero title. It's a fine title. Definitely nowhere near as memorable as something like Super Sheriff or Barrier of Skulls or Barrier of Heads. I can't remember what it is. But it fits well with the themes of this Warbond. It is all about being celebratory and momentous. Next up, we have the Sample Scanner Booster. This booster has a similar purpose to the Sample Extricator Booster, which we covered in the last Warbond review. You don't get any bonuses for combat, or anything that will give you extra utility during the mission. Instead, this booster will give you a 15% chance to receive 2 samples when you pick 1 sample up. And this applies to every sample rarity. You can receive extra common, rare, and even extra super samples. If you were to equip this booster for an entire operation, and you pick up 100 rare samples during the entire operation, mathematically speaking, you should have around 15 extra rare samples at the end, which is great for anyone who is trying to upgrade their ship. And it's great for certain major orders too. If everyone ran this during an order when we need common samples, we could finish it roughly 15% faster, and you could even combo that with the Sample Extricator to get a few more. If you have to pick between the 2 sample boosters, definitely go with the Sample Scanner over the Sample Extricator, but they do synergize well together if you want to run both at once. Next up, we have the CQC-1 True Flag. The flag sucks. I'm done holding back on this thing. It's been half a year since it was released, and it's still garbage. I've been saying this forever. People tell me, don't disrespect the flag. Don't do it. Don't do it. Face the wall. Face the wall. Well, I don't give a damn about that anymore. Why would you willingly equip the Stun Lance in your support weapon slot for any reason other than to handicap yourself? Or if you want to roleplay it, I could see that too. But if we're gonna stay practical, this thing is practically a secondary, that you put in your support weapon slot. Same damage, same effects, same range, same stamina cost, same everything as the stun lance. So for the love of God, just use the stun lance and save your support weapon slot for some actually good shit. I want to tell Arrowhead to buff the flag by giving it some unique properties. One cool idea that I saw online is that the user of the flag should taunt enemies. That way, you can play as a pseudo tank role like it's an MMO, and it would even make it more challenging for the person using it, plus it would make sense in the universe of Helldivers too. A win-win-win. And you could even make it automatically rally any nearby Siege troopers to you, allowing you to lead them into battle like the flag bearer and take the enemies head on. Just give it something, please. But I know in my heart that if they tried to do anything unique with the flag, then it would probably brick 1,000 more computers in the process. Moving on from that, we have the G142 Pyrotech. This is a very cool and very unique grenade. It is essentially repurposed pyrotechnics from a Super Earth parade. You throw it out, and it shoots sparks all around it. These sparks deal damage and can set enemies on fire, and after a short while, the grenade will explode, dealing a little bit of damage and continuing to spread fire to nearby enemies. The crazy thing about this grenade is that the sparks actually do anti-tank damage. Yeah, anti-tank damage. I don't know why this isn't told in the game. I don't know why this isn't mentioned in the description for the item, but this grenade can do damage to almost anything in the game. Not to mention that fire damage also penetrates heavy armor. So yeah, this grenade can be used against nearly anything. The problem is that it's very tricky to correctly use against a single enemy, but it's great for using against a group of enemies that are coming through a choke point. You will deal some pretty good damage to them and set them all on fire. It's really, really good if you can use it defensively. And did I mention that you can hold 6 of these by default? Yeah, you can hold more pyrotech grenades than any other throwable except for the throwing knives, but those don't count. And that means you can hold 8 pyrotechs if you bring the engineering kit passive or the integrated explosives passive. If you can learn how to use the pyrotech, then it will probably become one of your favorite grenades. And finally, we have the lockstep emote. This is a pretty iconic emote. It's one of the only emotes that you can use while moving, and it's an endless emote, so you can use it for however long you like. It fits really well with this Warbond, plus it has an Easter egg where sometimes it will play an entirely different animation. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't get the animation to trigger in my footage, but you can find that out for yourself. In conclusion, I actually like this Warbond. It is very memorable and it features some excellent cosmetics. But as someone who doesn't like melee very much, it's pretty anemic. There's just not a lot of meat on these bones unless you actively use melee. The only quote-unquote melee weapon that I like in this Warbond is the Amendment, and even that is a light armor pen. So if you're in the cult of medium pen, then you will not like this one bit. The highlights of this Warbond are the surprising part. The Pyrotech grenade stands out as an excellent choice for a grenade, and the sample scanner has carved out its own niche. And I will admit that the armor passive is pretty good too. Not quite as good as Siege Ready, but it's not bad. If you want some awesome cosmetics, then yeah, this Warbond is amazing. But if you want something practical, then no, go look somewhere else. But what do you think about Masters of Ceremony? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you use the flag? I would hope not, but let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed watching, and I want to thank my channel members, Swickity, ArchAngelShipyards, DirtyKnightmare, Cheddar, and Minuby. You guys are the best, and thank you for continuing to support the channel. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see the rest of the Warbond review series. And that is all I have for today, so this is Grand Moff Togan of the SES Prophet of Dawn, signing off.